that's gonna bug me and everyone probably. Hi guys, and welcome back to another book club video. I have a different assortment of books today, a bunch of different genres, types that I wouldn't usually read. I'm gonna show you 8 of the last books that I've read. I'm really behind on these videos. I've currently on my 16th book of the year. This is my first book club of the year, so as usual, this is an open discussion, so let me know in the comments if you've read these books, what you thought, what you think I should read, and as usual, no spoilers. Everything that I say can be found on the cover and in the synopsis and the first 50 pages. So the first book is The Last Wife by Karen Hamilton, and I read The Perfect Girlfriend by her and it was amazing. So well put together. So this starts off with the narrator saying that her friend Nina died unexpectedly, but before she died she asked 3 things of her, and she says that 2 of them are really easy to keep, but one she's tempted to break, and she doesn't say what it is. So what I like about Karen Hamilton is her characters are crazy, chaotic, and the plots are nuts, you wouldn't expect where it's going. Sorry about this, there's literally no way around this. I wrote page 80 / chapter 10 review, love the writing, plot, etc., but the character is so irritating and manic / issues. I wish it switched between her and a different perspective to get a break from her chaos. So yeah, I do like books that are all from the same perspective sometimes, but in this case, it was all her and she's just nuts. So this is definitely a really good read. It wasn't as good as the first book that Karen Hamilton wrote, but I would definitely recommend this. The next book, I wish I could read this again for the first time, so I would definitely recommend The Truth About Melody Brown by Lisa Jewell. I love Lisa Jewell's earlier stuff. Her characters are just amazing and the stories are so you just never want them to end. So this starts off with Melody, age 9, lying on the ground in front of her house that's on fire. What is happening here? And then it goes to the now, where she has a 17-year-old son. So she goes on a date with this guy that she met on the bus, and they go to a hypnotist, and she gets hypnotized and she faints, and then she just feels really, really weird after. So then it keeps switching between her in the now and then her when she was younger, and memories, and I don't think she's remembering those memories yet. But then ever since she got hypnotized, she's been getting flashbacks about her childhood, and things are kind of unlocking. So it just goes through her as a child and then switches to her as now, trying to figure it out. And I just love Lisa Jewell's stories, and it just you get so trying to figure everything out and put it together as she does. And this is another one that I just did not want to end because I just wanted to hear more about Melody Brown. I mentioned this before, but I usually, if I'm reading something like those last 2, I like to read something else to switch to a different genre. So I found this in one of the little book sheds near me, and it's just a Nancy Drew, and it was number 44. And I really like the number 44, so I picked it up. And it was just a nice little light read. My first Nancy Drew, actually. I also really love reading spiritual self-help books. I actually put up a video already talking about this book, so definitely go check that out. I'll put the link down below because this book changed my life and I'm so excited to go through and reread it throughout my life. The next book is Billy Summers by Stephen King. So I realized afterwards that it's recommended to read, I think it's Cell by Stephen King before you read this. I did not realize that his books were linked, but I'm really getting into him. I also read The Institute. That will be in my next book club video. I loved this. I was not sure what to expect, but I completely fell in love with the characters in this. I love Stephen King. So Billy, aged 44, gets paid to kill people, and he justifies this by saying that he only kills bad people. So he gets offered to kill this guy, Joe. The guy's name's Joel, not Joe, for $2 million, and he's told that he is also a hitter and just a really bad guy. So Billy accepts this offer, and he gets a whole bunch of money up front before he does it. So he moves to this new place and sets up a disguise under Dave and says that he's an author working on like a novel, and the office that he rents out is like to work on his novel, but it really scopes out the place like he needs to shoot and kill this guy from. Okay, something else interesting. Billy has like his dumb self, so he pretends to be a lot more dumb than he is, because then people just act differently around you, reveal more. I've always loved that like tactic. Anyway, so he starts writing this book as his dumb self, and so he writes improper English at the beginning, so it is a little bit hard to read. So it switches between like what's going on and then Billy writing his life story, which is also really interesting. And then he starts to doubt how much he can trust the guys that hired him to kill this guy. And then another character gets introduced that I really loved, and it's just very satisfying. I don't know, I love Stephen King, so I bought like a bunch more. And then another book that I lent to my sister is The City of Ember, because I read that for school like when I was like 10, and then we went and saw the movie and I loved it then, but I didn't really understand it, so I read it and I thought, oh, I'll just read the first one, like it's a series, but I just need the first one. But it was so good and it ended on such a cliffhanger, and I know I had a sticky note with notes for it, but I put it somewhere when I gave my sister the book, so I don't exactly remember what I said, but it was so good. Basically, it's this city that's super isolated called Ember, and they like don't really have light, and everything's generated by the generator, and when you're 12 you get assigned a job, and that's just how it is. A main girl, Lena, thinks that there is more, and they try and like figure out how to get out of there, and it's just like so good. So I bought the second book because I need to know what happens. And then this next book is Braving the Wilderness by Bren Brown. My sister got me this for Christmas, and it was actually a really interesting read. I took a bunch of notes, and it was interesting because it was from a person's perspective that I wouldn't usually listen to, and I didn't totally agree with everything in here, but I really enjoyed seeing it from their perspective, if that made sense. So it's kind of like about coming to terms with you are just you and being yourself, which I totally agree with and love. Yeah, it was really good and gave me some really good points for life. And then the next book was a bit different and a bit harder to read. So it's Lost Girls, an unsolved American mystery by Robert Kolker. So this is a true crime book, and so it tells the stories of Maureen, Melissa, Shannon, Megan, and Amber. They were all sex workers that were discovered in Ocean Parkway, which is like a 50-mile straightaway of darkness, and the cops didn't really put as much effort into it as everyone thinks that they should have. The locals kind of didn't really seem to care, and it's still never been solved who killed all these girls. It just seems very sketchy how the cops handled it. They kind of just seemed to cover it up, and then someone retired, and it really shows, like, talks about the girls' families and their upbringings and their lives and humanizes them. It was a good read, but like I said, difficult, especially when I usually read books about like similar things, but it's just all made up, and this was like actually real. So it took me a little bit to read this because it did have like descriptions of things. So, and then I went on a really hard reading spree of fiction novels, like mystery, thriller, crime. So my next book club is gonna just be 8 books of those, so be on the lookout for that. Let me know any book suggestions, what you think of these books, and I'll see you all in my next video.